Okay, I've got Blake here, who's the manager of the Synergy Performance Institute, and I just wanted to explain to Blake a bit about the running work that I'm doing in terms of explaining how functional gaits and running movement are related, in particular to strength training. So, as you know, with a lot of the gym work that we do, there's a lot of squats, there's a lot of lunges, there's a lot of deadlifts, there's a lot of dynamic plyometric stuff like the box jumps and whatnot.
Yep.
So that's all really good because when we're doing those things, we're using our bodies in the right way. We're doing the things that our body built to do. The thing that we're not doing is when we're running, we're not using those movement patterns. Let's just try this. What do you look like when you run? Just have a little run up and down. Okay. Not bad. Come back. And what do you feel when you go for a run? If you do you run much?
No.
Do you fear running or?
No, well, I've always had dodgy knees, like played rugby and stuff growing up. So
yeah.
And again, you run. I never got into long distance running or anything. I used to do sprints like a bit, and was always a better sprinter. I play a bit of voice tag nowadays, like once a week, and there's sprinting, stopping, starting, and that. But never like long distance running or anything. Didn't love it.
Yeah, that's fair enough, and that's quite typical because most people are running in a way. The way we walk is often quite front centric, which is like swing with your hip flexors, put your heel out, and then we run that way too, which is not really optimal. Show me a reverse lunge. Can you do a reverse lunge for me?
Yeah.
Yep, nice. So you got a nice straight back. As you're coming back, you're getting your glutes on, right? That's the missing link, because if we can do that, if we can do that, we can do this, obviously, generating forward movement using our butt, and then we just add some power. That's how we should run. Try that now. Just add a little bit of pop in between your steps. Yeah, nice. What does that feel like to you?
Yeah, more glutes.
That is running movement, which is completely different to what most people do. Nothing is working for them. If you think about the human body, it's a spring. Because if you think about this whole position, it's a spring because you can coil and recoil. So if you jump up and down, you're coiling and recoiling, right? You're springing. Because if you do that, the amount of energy you're putting in for each extra jump is less than the first one. And the other thing is when you're moving forward, you're using gravity. Because you're using gravity to pull you forward. So combining gravity plus a spring, plus the power of your backside and your core, it's the most efficient way to run. And then the other thing I want to show you, if you look at the movement patterns that we're training, if we do a squat, we're using our butt. We're trying to use our core and our butt to do a squat. If we're doing a deadlift, we're keeping it straight back, we're using our glutes. If we're doing a reverse deadlift, it's the same thing, single leg, reverse deadlift. If we're doing a box jump, we're bending down, coiling the spring, and jumping up using the spring. That's our natural movement pattern. If you jump and land, that's how you want to do it. You don't want to do this without your core on, because that's just going to kill you. But the way people are walking and running around at the moment is completely unfunctional. I watch people down the beach and they're walking around, they're like this. More often than not, some version of that. Like you're walking around and there's just a lot of like pull your legs from. I see it with people running too, especially when they're running up a hill. They're like pulling themselves up a hill, so they'll swing their leg out and they're like, oh, push through their quad, pull through their hamstrings, and they're just looking down, their core's not on. It's just bad. But if you're running up a hill, you're looking up, your butt's engaged, you're pushing and you're leaning into the hill and you're springing, far less effort. So that's the fundamental way that we should be running and we're not. And the reason is no one's training the right movement pattern for running. So running is a movement pattern which no one actually understands. And walking is the same. Like what I just showed you with the glute-based walking, it's the same. Running and walking aren't actually that different.
When you said going up the hill and leaning into it, are you not more inclined to put it into your calves?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? That is a problem. So that's actually another reason that a lot of people get injured is because they put the propulsion into their calves. So if you think about a box jump, you try and do a box jump with just your calves. You can do that. Maybe if you wanted to go higher, it's going to be hard. You can't get a good, powerful box jump out of your calf. But if you do it from your butt, easy. We need to make sure we're not overactivating our calves when we're running. That's the second strategy. So the first strategy is swinging your feet. The second strategy is pushing off your calves. The first one leads to upper leg problems and back problems. The second one leads to lower leg problems like Achilles, plantar fascia, calf tears, which are all very common. What are your thoughts about all that?
Yeah, it makes sense. How long does it take for someone to actually rewire how they...
Not as long as you might think, and if you consider the benefits. How often people would probably spend time in the gym? They're happy to go to the gym for hours. If you think about, okay, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do a squat, for example, and they do like 100 reps of a good squat. They're pretty good at it by the end of the day. So if you tell someone this is the correct movement pattern for running, do 100 reps and maybe do that 5 times a week, by a week, they're going to be running in a very different way. I'm doing case studies. I'm seeing people transforming in a week. 2 weeks, it becomes even easier. People are telling me they can run easily for 30 minutes or longer when they previously couldn't run for 15 minutes without pain because they're using their calves for running.
Is this same technique and idea the same for a sprint compared to a long distance run?
Yes and no. So the difference between long distance and sprinting is when you're doing sprinting, you want to get your knee up. So you want to maximize the amount of range, but it's still coming from your glute, right? But when you're running distance, you don't need to get your knee up. All you need to do is keep pushing. So you're minimizing the amount of effort that's going in through the less efficient muscles, and you're maximizing the amount of work that's going through your butt. So you're pushing through the back side rather than the front side. And that's another common mistake you see when people trying to teach running form is they think about sprinters and they think, oh, drive your knees up. So you do see people running around driving their knees up, which is very tiring. I mean, they've probably got their core engaged, so that's good. And there's probably lower impact on their spine, but it's not actually any less. It's not going to help them be more efficient and run long distance. The biggest challenge is firstly having people understand that you can learn a different movement pattern. Even if you already run, you can learn a different way of doing it. It's like if you just put someone out and said, do some ski erg for me, and with no instructions, they'd give it a crack, but they probably wouldn't have a clue what they're doing. But then you say, here's how you use a ski erg, hold your spine erect, use your butt, blah, blah, blah. They're going to do it properly. Running's the same. Most people, they come to running after a lot of time sedentary, and they don't know what they're doing, but no one tells them what to do. They just do the best they can, and that's why inevitably it ends up being really difficult, and they often get injured.
Yeah, makes sense.
Pretty logical, hey?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, thanks for your time, man.
No, thank you. Awesome. Cheers.